Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting. Today is January 13th, 2020, and we'll call this meeting order at 7:30 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Trustee Delzo?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez?
Here.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Nava Esparza?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Officers' reports, starting with myself. First on your agenda this evening is a request for an approval of a 6B tax assessment for the property commonly known as 3350 West 131st Street in Alsip. This property's intended buyer, their new name will be 131st Street LLC. This is 16 acres of property that was used to be known as Blue Island Phenol, was the plant back in the day. And we have a representative from there. Mike, can you go to the mic, please, the microphone there in the middle, and introduce yourself, please, and if you'd like to make a presentation, what you were planning to do.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Michael Panis. I'm in-house counsel.
Closer. I'm sorry, you need to speak a little closer. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Not a problem. My name is Michael Panis. I'm in-house counsel for Michael Goyich and his real estate entity. Mike has done a contract on the property on 131st Street. We are presently in the due diligence stage of looking at the property. Right now, there are several things that have to go on with the property as the information we've got. There is substantial remediation and demolition that will have to go on. I think Mike sent a letter December 26th outlining a few of these things. And we are going through this to see exactly the scope of remediation, what kind of things that will drive what we can do on it. What we've talked about, however, is doing truck and trailer renovation on the property, container storage and sorting, setting up an actual storage, not just a storage of the facility, but doing sorting of the what's in the containers on the site. We talked about converting the water tower into food-grade oil transloading and turning most of the site into a transload facility. Part of this depends on how deep we're going to have to go with the remediation and time frame, and that's why we asked for the Class 6 issue to be addressed, just because of all the things we have to do on the site. There's a tower that has to come down. There's one of the other buildings that have to come down, and all of these things are within the scope of the project. But we intend to clean it so that it becomes viable, utilizing these not just for truck parking or things like that, but to do actual work on trucks and trailers at that site, but trying to get it to a transload facility, which for us makes a lot of sense. It's a good location to do those kinds of things, to make those things, and then utilizing the water tower there on, like I said, for food-grade oils, to basically bring them in bulk, transfer bulk by rail, which is another thing we have to do, is upgrade the rail on the site, doing those kinds of things. Like I say, the scope of what we have done on the contract is somewhat conditioned on making sure we have the Class 6. There was a contingency in the contract to do that, which gives us the economic viability to do pretty heavy remediation on the site. So any questions anybody would like to ask? That was a real quick synopsis, I know, and we can do a deeper dive into presentation as we get through the scope. We've gotten several environmental reports on it. There's an existing leaseholder on the property that we will continue to deal with and manage as we change over the type of property it is.
So as Mr. Panis was explaining, trustees, I had met Mr. Goich, it's Goich. I met Mike through LB Steel, where he's the president of that steel company. Great man. And he's got a lot of interest in different business ventures and whatnot. It was explained to me at the time, like you had actually, Mike met with our building commissioner, Roger Early, and Roger's got a better, he's got an overview of what's expected, and you told him what's, basically, Roger, you had a meeting to say what's expected of, to meet code compliance, and you need a non-permeable lot, you need lights, everything else, hydrants and so forth. So Mr. Goich understands that. The problem, trustees, with this particular property is it was basically like a tank farm back when. It was a Blue Line phenol plant. And like as Mr. Panis explained, there's a lot of remediation that needs to take place to clean this up. This is actually almost 16 acres of property. Right. And that doesn't even include the wooded lands that surround that and stuff then too, because nobody can use those. They've been deemed contaminated. Or I don't want to put words in somebody's mouth, but is that the case, Mr. Panis?
There is significant remediation on the whole site that has to be done. Yeah. And it's quite a cleanup. Yeah, and so it's expensive. You're
only working with what's available, what you can work with then too, which.
But as Mike told me in your meeting, our intention is bring it up to code so that it's a viable site, put things on that site that create jobs and create activity, and that is our full intention.
The 6B application, trustees, is currently with our village attorney, Vince Kankar. And Vince did say that the intended project that you wish to do is, it is in compliance with a 6B consideration yet too. So Vince says it does meet the benchmarks that need to be done. And as Mr. Panis just explained, this is contingent, a 6B approval is contingent on your purchase of the property. Correct. Because you folks are looking for a little bit of help because of all the remediation work that you need to do and so forth then too.
As we got into it, it's pretty heavy duty stuff given the history of the site.
This is the furthest most property basically in the village everybody knows. This is the furthest southeast property within the village and so forth then too. And it's a nice piece of property. The road, actually 131st Street, is a designated federal truck route. Right. We did get some STP funding it's not enough yet. We got it through the state and county are helping us with, but it's not quite enough yet to resurface and rebuild that entire road. So that's our goal, and every time we get an opportunity to apply for grants, we're certainly on it and stuff then too. We're trying to get that complete. The county was actually thinking that we didn't have enough, which we don't currently, but we've kept their interest to keep that project alive and so forth then too, because we want to build that area up. There's some great businesses back there, the paper plant, Quality Snack Foods, a few other places and stuff then too. So
we want to upgrade the rail, trucking ability. It just makes sense on that site.
I forgot. That's right. That's the other thing, because that's where Mr. Goich's business is now, is in rail. LB Steel actually makes the suspensions for locomotive trains. Right. And that's part of this too, is you're going to be bringing in container cars utilizing the rail spur that comes to that property then too.
That's what I said on one of the issues, is turning this into container storage and sorting, which means you're basically transloading those as well. So it just makes a lot more sense on the site that you do all these transloading activities. It really helps on the in and out, and using both rail and truck. It's just much more efficient way to move things.
Okay. I apologize that I didn't have more paperwork in front of everybody tonight, because it's actually with our attorney. I'll certainly get that to everybody this week and so forth then too. I just didn't, this all just popped just last week, and I wanted to get you on the agenda right away, because this is an active project right now that you folks are trying to move on this at the same time too. So, trustees, does anybody have any questions right now?
hope most comes by rail, because I don't know how a truck drives down 131st.
It is, it's nasty, yeah.
On larger things, particularly if you're doing transloading of the food-grade oil, the idea would be to utilize the tank that's there, bring it in by rail and out by truck, so that it goes to the sites. And the other transloading, containers would come in by rail. You sort so that you can manage where that product goes. And one of the things that we've talked about in a lot of venues is making the Southland more efficient in these kinds of things for industry and just the movement of goods. Transportation is normally easy around here, so that's the hope. Upgrade the rail, upgrade the site, do the transloading for moving things in and out of there. So
Not to mention making 16 acres of property viable again then, too. That's great.
it is, yeah.
So how about this side? Any questions, trustees?
No, I think it's great that somebody would be actually willing to come in and develop that piece of property.
We actually, when Mr. Goich came into my office, we actually sat down and we discussed, and which he's considering, too, is cleaning up even more property just west of where he's at there, too, right between Valero and what's the other place? What's the bakery over there again? Bimbo. Yeah. So he's actually considering cleaning up even more property yet, too.
Mike is very aggressive on these things. He owns a substantial amount of industrial property.
Okay.
And he's been aggressive on doing those things so that they're usable. It only benefits, both sides.
Yes.
When you do that. So.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Mr. Panos, for coming in tonight. And
Thank you.
we'll put this on the agenda next week for consideration for approval then, too, okay?
Yeah, if you need us here, we're happy to be here.
Sure. Okay. Thanks,
Could I
Mike.
ask you to sign in, please, sir?
Sure.
There's a list
Thank
right
you.
here. Trustees, the other that I had, I didn't have it on the agenda, but a couple things to bring to everybody's attention. The clerk got a request last week from a management company, and they're managing a property that, I'll just read this quickly. It says, you're receiving this letter in response to a request for a registration fee for a property located at 11529 Kilbourne. The property is owned by the Veterans Administration. Basically, they probably secured the loan for this, and typically, the village requires a $200 vacant property fee that we charge when somebody leaves a property. This way, there's some oversight in case anything gets out of control, or we have to monitor it for trespassing and whatnot then, too. Now, we know it's a vacant property, and what they're asking is that the taxes imposed on the government are in what they claim in violation of the Supremacy Clause, meaning that this fee against the government is an involuntary exaction and stands on the same footing as an ordinary tax. In other words, they are a taxing body as well. It is based solely on the fact of property ownership rather than the value of a benefit. So under U.S. Code Section 3720 of the VA, must pay reasonable user fees based on the quantum of services provided by local authority. So in other words, they're asking us, we ask that you exempt this property from any and all registration fees while the asset is under the ownership of the VA, and we thank you for your attention to this matter. I think for the $200, this is actually governed by ordinance, is what I let the clerk know. The request to waive the $200 vacant property fee for the VA probably isn't worth possibly initiating litigation for $200, because it's a VA.
The attorney reviewed this?
Yes, and
The
he
attorney
agreed.
agreed?
Yeah, he agreed. I spoke with Joe Kankar.
With,
He said the board would ultimately decide, but he says he didn't think it was worth challenging the VA.
so the VA is right in their assertion of the supremacy.
Joe is saying, yeah, for $200 to initiate litigation, we'll go way past $200 when you're challenging the government.
So he didn't say they were right.
He just said that they probably wouldn't pay the fee. That's what he told me. In other words, we'd be
It's not worth
initiating.
fighting.
That's what I'm trying to say, yes.
So is it worth fighting for anyone else that we charge $200 to?
I'm,
And if
let's
it's
put
not
it this
worth
way.
fighting, then why are we having it?
I'm agreeing with you. That's why originally I told the clerk we wouldn't waive that and stuff. I stand by what you just said, that if we do it for everybody else, why wouldn't we do it for this? But this kind of gives you, it gives a feeling that they're going to challenge this if they took the time to write the letter and stuff,
I mean, if they're right in their assertion, then I have no problem with it. And as we've done in the past with other tax bodies, it makes no sense to sit there and take money out of a taxing body to receive it and vice versa. So if that's the case, then I agree with not assessing the fee. But I just want to make sure that we're doing it for the right reason, the right way.
I would agree, because it needs the same amount of oversight that any other house would at the same time then, too. So, but the board can certainly stand by ordinance and say that we don't wish to waive this at the same time. This is a board decision.
Well, now, didn't it say, though, that you're allowed to charge actual expenses? So if we are actually oversighting and we can document when we send vehicles by or whatever, then we can
Absolutely, right.
go ahead and
In
charge
other
them
words,
for
if
that.
there was
Which
call for
it could end
service.
up costing more than their $200 they're trying to fight us for.
Sure, and you're right about that, because that's what they said about the quantum qualifying this thing for actual service. You're exactly right.
Is the property being maintained?
As far as I know, yes. Roger, you haven't any problem with that?
Well,
Yeah.
the problem,
Yeah, it says if the fee is based on the government's use of a benefit, it is allowable. Other enforced contributions for the support of the local government are unconstitutional, is what they're saying. And again, this is being drafted to us by it's called a VRM. This is Vendor Resource Management. They're actually based out of Carrollton, Texas, and they're the management company overseeing the interests of the VA in this particular case. So again, just to recap, this fee against the government is an involuntary exaction and stands on the same footing as an ordinary tax. It is based solely on the fact of property ownership rather than the value of a benefit. And again, under that particular U.S. code, Section 3720 of the VA, otherwise known as the Secretary, must pay reasonable user fees based upon the quantum of services provided by the local authority. So as you said, Trustee McGlohorn, yeah, if you exempted them from this, yet if there was a call for service, we'd be billing them all over again anyway then, too.
we could butt if this all night long. I mean, as we were just discussing, is that if the purpose of the ordinance is to obtain fees should a call for service come, I guess I'd like to find out how many of these are actually active and what our history has been.
I'll agree. And again, I've been here a little over 2 years. This is the first time I've even seen one of these and stuff then, too, so.
And if we're going to start looking at this, maybe it's better that we rescind that ordinance, and then should an occasion come where we have to assess a fee, either write the MV or
Are you thinking at all, or just the VAs?
I'm thinking all. If this is the first time we're talking about this, it doesn't seem like it's a large number of occurrences. And then, like all laws that we talk about, if we have to sit there and reassess them every time we're looking at them to implement it, how effective is it?
I'd like to stick by ordinance myself. I think for
I definitely stick with the ordinance. There's at times over 200 vacant properties.
yeah.
I would ask that you uphold the ordinance as it states,
there are at times over 200 vacant properties. We need to make sure that the properties are being maintained. We need contacts and contact information on who actually is doing the management company, and then also contacts for everyone. That's our means of doing it when I go out. If the police department doesn't have it, if we don't have it, it's very difficult on all of us to track down the actual owner. And I could tell you, I had 3 of them today that I had to sticker because the water was shut off, the water was turned back on by the people that were doing the work, and they're in there doing illegal work. So if we don't know it's vacant property, we're going to have a bigger issue. So the ordinance definitely needs to stay in place.
Well, I mean, are we arresting these people for the theft? Are we arresting these people for the disruption of utilities, for criminal trespass?
I typically will waive on the first one. After that, they are given a $1,000 ticket and do have to appear in court.
But anyway, I would agree.
I mean, to register, I completely agree. Get all the information so that we have it readily available. I'm not opposed to that. I just don't know what the $200 fee assessed along with the information does for us, because it sounds like in everything that you're doing, the cost to the village is going to be well beyond that $200.
It would well exceed $200.
Right. So how effective is the $200?
I think it's enough to cover the processing and oversight, even in-house,
Agree.
administratively. There's different actions that we have to take, and it probably passes through, a couple of different sets of hands yet, too, entering and so forth. But I'd like to stick by it, and like I said, I can appreciate the management company trying to challenge for $200. I find it kind of hard that they would challenge for the $200, though, too.
And in one of the recent examples that we just had is that I know that we had a property that somebody went in as a squatter and they started doing some things, turned the water on, like what you had said, and claim that they had purchased the property at auction. Yet we, the village, went in, did some work on that property. My assumption is that we filed a lien against the property. There's no way that a title company would be able to sit there and clear that title without first removing the lien. And as a lien holder, would be first made aware of it.
There's a lot of, let's put it this way, we're pretty thin-staffed around here, but we just had to talk about that, and I'm encouraging even our part-time guys to look for these kind of things and stuff then, too, because he and I can't spot all these issues and stuff then, too, so. But anyway, we can, if the board wishes, I can put this on the agenda for a vote on this next week, unless we have a consensus to stand by our ordinance tonight, we can do that, too.
Doesn't the board, as a routine, waive fees for a taxing body?
Yes.
So I don't know why we wouldn't do it here.
Well, that was kind of the gist I got even through our attorney, is because it is a taxing body. But even as Trustee McGlowan pointed out there, it could fly the other way too. That if we do have calls for service, and it actually creates more paperwork for us then too, with people coming and going, or liens, whatever, and that kind of thing.
But we have calls for service at taxing bodies now. We have calls for service in the Park District. We have calls for service at the library. Calls for service at the schools.
So, and that's what I was getting at. The fair thing is, and the clerk explained that to the management company too. It'd take about 2 weeks to give them an answer on this. I'd actually like to put this to a vote next week and see if we agree that we should waive these or not for at least the VA, for a taxing body, that kind of thing. Then
I'm going to be on vacation next week, but
Okay.
it would be my thought that as a taxing body, the board has traditionally waived fees, and it would be reasonable to do so in this one as well. But I'm not going to be here to vote.
well, thank you for assuring.
Do you want to phone it in?
Unfortunately, I'm on vacation, so I'm not able to do that.
Yeah. If he was at work, he could. All right. Well, thank you, Trustee Dalzell. I appreciate that. The other that I had on here was, I'm sorry. I'll leave that. That was something I gave you, trustee Zelinski, on that resolution. Did you see my notes on that? Yeah, no problem. When we get to your report, yeah, we'll do that. And then,
There you go, an ordinance.
I did get something, like 5 minutes before I walked out here. We were trying to resolve some issues, and I got to tell you, I spoke with trustee Dalzell. I spoke with you the other night, and we were really hammering on this today too. We had voted a few months back to change management companies for the retirement programs here for the 457 plans. And unfortunately, the new company that we went with didn't send out notices faster to all affected, including current personnel. I mean, I got home that night when I was talking to you Friday night, and I found mine in the mail too. And I'm affected just like the retirees are. I mean, you're telling me, like, let's say Nationwide was the previous company managing our account, and they sent a nice statement, as they always do, but they said, hey, your account just got zeroed out, and call One America to follow up. I'm like, well, that doesn't tell me anything. Why did that happen? So I did speak with HR manager Shanae Hunter this morning as soon as I walked in, and she has been in constant contact with these folks, and we, between the two of us today, and I shared an email with the Finance Committee earlier today that I sent off to them. She sent me a note, 7:26 tonight. I grabbed this right before I walked in the meeting. She says, hello, this is from One America, Terry Rostick. She says, we would like to take this opportunity to welcome, this is what she's going to be sending to all the participants, plus they're going to be calling them and contacting them too. Although we do have time available tomorrow, we've got time between 9 and noon blocked off to meet with the Wells Fargo management person tomorrow. She says, we'd like to take this opportunity to welcome the participants of the Village of Alsip 457B Deferred Compensation Plan. We have completed the transition period for your retirement plan. You may log into your account at such and such numbers. If you have not had a chance to register, you will need to your plan number, which is, again, such and such numbers. If you received a verification code and so on and so forth, your account assets were transferred over to the investment options that are similar or identical to those which you were invested at your prior provider. You may now view your account balance, make the investment transfers, and change investment elections should you wish. You will begin to receive quarterly statements the third week after the first quarter in 2020. If you have any questions regarding your investments, please contact your consultant advisor, Jolene Christine, who's going to be here tomorrow from Wells Fargo. And again, we were also told verbally they're going to be contacting these people at the same time. So they are going to be reaching out to everybody affected on this.
When was that discussion and when was the vote, Mayor?
When was
The vote was June 17th.
That's what I was looking for earlier, Ken. I couldn't find the meeting, the minutes rather.
And I
Over
believe
6
it
months
was,
ago that
yeah,
they had
it was
time to get this.
I think there was some other committee meetings before, at least one committee meeting before that.
I remember,
6 months.
yeah.
But that's not,
The first communication they have with these people is
they-
after they receive a zero balance from what they knew to be the provider.
I believe a number of them were contacted, and I believe some fell through the
Were you
the
contacted,
cracks.
Mayor?
No, and that's what I'm saying. That was affected just like everybody else. But we did, and that's actually, I'm not going to put words in folks' mouths, but they did acknowledge that it was faltered.
Yeah.
Shanae Hunter's been in contact with them for months over this and stuff.
I will also say, in terms of that whole 6 months, there were 3 different 457 plans, and some of these 457 plans took a long time to say who was in the plans. So the village doesn't even know who the retirees are until these plans disclose who the retirees are. And some of these, it wasn't that they knew for that whole 6 months, but
But the mayor's an active participant,
correct.
and he
And
receives
that's-
a zero.
And that's the funny part about this yet too, which I was
think-
brought into the loop on.
And I talked to other people, both retired and active, and hear a similar circumstance. So,
Well,
Well, they say
like-
nobody should have to go through that, basically, heart dropping out, where you got a statement that says you have zero funds in your
Right,
account, when
right.
you know you've been saving for a length of
I
time.
think some of these, and I won't say it's in all cases, because I think there were some that were dropped, but I believe in some cases there were people who were notified at least one time, and then they didn't acknowledge it or didn't notice it.
Because they
So-
actually called here to question the plan, so
Right.
they had knowledge of it.
Right. We've
But-
had a number of people, and when we sat down to meet with them, they were all happy with it once it was explained to them, because frankly, it's better service for lower cost. But
Wait,
the
wait,
transition,
You said better service.
it is,
Not if
I
they
will
don't
tell you
notify the
this, I will,
Just say more
I
competitive.
will tell you
all right?
the service that I'm referring to. I'm referring to, tomorrow, again, as the mayor said, there's a chartered retirement plan specialist, Jolene Christine, who's going to be here at 9 a.m., and she is a financial advisor. So this person's going to come numerous times during the year as needed to meet with people, to talk to people in the 457, who aren't in the 457 plan, who could be, or just as importantly, people who are in it, whether they're retirees or whether they're employees, and talk to them about, she's a financial planner, so what is it that they're planning on using their money for, what are their goals, how do they want to get there, and asset allocation. She does not do any trading. Some of these platforms did have trading done by outside parties. She does not do the trading. That has to come from the plan participant, but she helps give financial advice. She's a financial advisor. That's the additional service I'm referring to. Your point, if you were making it, that there's a bad additional service if not everyone was contacted and knew about it in advance. That is a mistake, and that is poor service.
Yeah,
that
if
is
I
a
didn't make
separate-
that clear, I'll
Yeah,
reiterate.
that is a
And
separate-
I'll add in the parking lot repavement, just to kind of...
Well, we've got a plan for that.
He
in the
is
next
going to
budget,
stay
so.
in the afternoon and at least fill the cracks with everything.
So, and the other thing too, just in all fairness to the village, our deficiency is, as Kent and Shanae reminded me this morning too, is that we are not given a list of who the participants are. That's their business. It's not ours. And so we have no list that tells us we can contact, the Smiths and the Joneses. I mean,
Yeah.
they are who they are.
I would
that kind of
agree,
thing, so.
Mayor, with regards to retirees. I disagree with active employees.
I'm with you.
Because
'cause
payroll shows,
Right, payroll has to make the
Deductions.
deductions.
so you know who's
We have
involved.
to know.
I'm sorry.
But
I
again,
believe-
7:26 tonight, I hear I'm getting this, like, they say after I got my statement, so I'm in the same
Actually,
boat
that's-
those other folks are.
That's
that
the
kind of
better
thing.
service, Mayor,
Yeah.
driving it home.
Yeah. So we're hoping for better results down the road, and I sent out, and I was very clear of my intention this morning, as well as the HR manager, and we got some results. They stayed late. Obviously, they're in Indianapolis. They're there at 8:30 tonight, still responding back to us and stuff, then, too.
So this financial planner that's going to come in every once in a while, is that service extended to the retirees or just the active employees?
It's to retirees as well. Anybody who either has money in the 457 plan or could put money into a 457 plan. So if the retiree has a 457 plan, whether it had been BALIC, Nationwide, or IPPFA, they're welcome as well. If there's too much demand tomorrow, she can come back. She will come back to, not just tomorrow morning, but she is going 3 more times this week to fire stations.
To meet with the different shifts and stuff. yeah, too.
Different shifts, and going out directly to the
How
fire
many shifts
station.
you got, Chief?
4.
4.
She will do more. You have to remember, a lot of these there's more in the fire department than...
More money.
Nobody said
Yeah,
that.
more money, not more people.
in the fire department who have been in
That
the
was a chief joke,
457
but-
plan.
So anyway, I just want to let everybody know we're on top of it in case anybody else got questions as I did, and I appreciate Trustee Dalzell got a hold of me Friday night. I was a little fuzzy on, and I was focused on a couple other projects I'm working on, so I'm glad we got all that ironed out, and hopefully we're going to get on to better days with these guys then too, so.
That's why I asked the question, because if a lot of these folks just found out about this in the past couple of days, did
She's
a
willing to
notification go out to any of the retirees that this person's going to be available for
Yeah,
service?
they're reaching out again to the retirees. She can schedule more meetings through the year as needed and as desired. This is part of the service, so.
Part of what slowed all this down too, like you said, when you look at something that's like, that we approved 6 months ago, was remember one of these, and I'm not going to use names, I'm just going to say the statement came through Nationwide, but one of the providers wouldn't transfer out right away. They were
almost
standing on the money, and that's what kind of...
It's now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it got pushed off so many times. In other words, we couldn't trigger it at a particular point. We would have loved to have done this a month ago, but we had a couple of the asset management companies that were standing on our money and weren't releasing the monies.
And not
we're
just
standing
releasing
here,
it.
you know, that kind of
Thank
thing.
God.
You know?
Thank God, because we didn't have this discussion a month earlier.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you,
Before Christmas.
there's
Well, they weren't
justification there.
releasing who they were either, who was in the plan.
Yeah, I'm not going to use everybody's name, but some of those companies did want to release the money. They had things going on, and we got a couple of notices that said we got to push this back a month and another month, and then finally it came through. So that's why all this kind of came up last second.
The transition in many cases was done fine. In many other cases, it was very lacking, and could have been done definitely better. I think focusing on the end result, there is a nice new service here, and the prices in most cases are a half or two-thirds cheaper than what they were paying before, which means that when people are in the retirement age, whether they're now or whether they're there in the future, there will be more assets for them in retirement, which I think is the big thing, that they get to keep more of their money.
Okay. That's enough from me. We'll have the clerk's report.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. First up is presentation of the December 2019 IDOT motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $84,619.90. I'm going to flip-flop my number 2 and number 3 at the board's leniency here. Number 3 is presentation of a letter of recognition for Brian Massari. January 13th, 2020, I would like to recognize all the help we have received this past week from our IT manager, Brian Massari. We had some technical difficulties with equipment and network issues early in the week. We also moved some equipment around to rearrange the office, and Brian had to spend a significant amount of time to help with the IT side of things. He is always willing to help and works diligently until the problems are solved. The Village of Alsip is lucky to have such a dedicated employee. Thank you for all your hard work, Brian. Sincerely, Erica O'Donnell, Office Supervisor. To piggyback on that, for anybody that has gone by the clerk's office over the past few months, Erica has done a phenomenal job in consolidating records and having things scanned so paper can leave the village clerk's office. Therefore, filing cabinets have left the village clerk's office, and last week they simply rearranged the desks. There's been no new office equipment purchased as far as desks or filing cabinets or anything in the clerk's office, but it has opened it up and it's made the space a lot more pleasant for the ladies that work there. Lastly, it's that time of year again. We wanted to talk about vehicle stickers. Erica has worked with Kent to go through and review costs of stickers, if anything is needed to go up or down. For the most part, everything stayed pretty much the same. There are a couple that tweaked a little bit. On the clerk's office side, we're a little bit more concerned with some of the ambiguous language in the current ordinance. If you go back and you look at the whole ordinance, there's some fuzzy parts as far as when late fees are assessed and how much late fees are assessed. For instance, if a car sticker is $35 and you come in to buy it after July 11th, you have to pay another $17.50. You pay half of that sticker cost. Where it gets confusing in the ordinance in particular is when it's discussing the discounted stickers for the seniors or the disabled. Their stickers are $5. The way the ordinance is worded is that they would pay half of the price of the sticker, which could be interpreted as half of the regular price. So what was a $5 sticker, now they're going to get assessed a $17.50 late fee or a $35 late fee, depending on how it goes down the line. So we've got to clean up some of that language so it specifically refers to your applicable sticker or the price of the sticker that you would have paid. In the case here recently, we've had some people that have come in and based on purchase date would almost end up paying 4 times what the sticker would have been worth, and the clerk's office has used its discretion and has only charged the half price fee as opposed to the full price double sticker, or in some cases a quadruple. So there is some wording that needs to be worked on that I would like to work with Trustee Zelinski and probably then the attorney to try to clean some of this up so that we can get it a little bit clearer. I'm sorry, Kent, did you want to mention something?
No, I'd just say that, as you said, I worked with Erica on it, and she was very good on this. There really is some ambiguous language, especially on if the vehicle was purchased both over 30 days prior and purchased after December 31st. That's a real category, and it's just so vague. You have no idea which way to charge it, and one of them is an incredibly expensive way to go that just makes no logical sense. She really spent the time going through and looking at the numbers that I generate numbers, but she really sat down and looked through the ordinance, and she did a nice job.
A couple other things near and dear to Trustee Dalzell's heart is having people have to come in to prove residency and or age. So we need some board direction for seniors as well as people with disabilities. Do they need to come in person with the correct documentation? And
I'd like to, when you send out those forms, are they already identified as a senior?
no, there's a notation on there saying that if you are a senior, you need to come in with documentation.
So,
Because you get people that are kind of on the cusp, and there's a date, if they're coming in May and they're officially going to be a senior by the time July 1 rolls around, yes, that counts. But if it's not till after, it kind of slush dates there. How do you prove it? And if somebody comes in today and proves it, if there's a two-person household and the husband is a senior and the wife isn't a senior, we have to make sure that they're only receiving one discounted sticker. We make sure that both parties come in.
see, I've actually discussed this with Chief Miller recently and some of the department heads. I was actually looking into eliminating vehicle stickers, and we've seen other towns nearby that have done this. I actually spoke, Oak Lawn eliminated vehicle stickers.
Oak Lawn went to, and
Utility tax.
it's a water.
Right, it's based on water usage.
Correct.
That's a toughie for us to do. I spoke with Clark Quinlan over there, and my first question to her was, based on the volume of industry that we have here, and we don't really have, I was told by Erica maybe, that we don't really have like a spreadsheet that says, like Coke bought 50 stickers or something like that. And that's the toughie for me is, when you look at some of the businesses, like, how do we offset that cost? How do we, we don't just look the other way. Everybody's got to be treated fairly here. But Clark Quinlan in Oak Lawn told me, she goes like, we don't have that problem. We don't have that kind of volume of vehicles and all that kind of stuff. That's the problem we're running into. So Kent and I are working on a couple different templates to maybe look at it next season. This season is too short, but I'm trying to work out something. So this might be the last year that maybe we do this if this plan rolls out and stuff.
What's
Well,
Oak Lawn's population?
Pardon me?
What's Oak Lawn's population?
60?
60?
60, 70,000 people?
Mm-hmm.
19,000 for us?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the volume?
I'm talking about multiple stickers off like a single location.
They don't have the industry we do.
I'm just saying,
Caleb
the
doesn't-
populace,
don't really own
'cause
vehicles.
like as Clerk Putzel just said, they're working off, their template is based on water volume. If you use minimal volume, you pay minimal dollars. If the more volume you use, the more sticker, money you would pay. But this way, you eliminate a sticker, you eliminate all this, travel, over, you name it and stuff into everything that we're doing.
How do you associate a road and bridge tax
With water.
with water?
Right.
That's what they
separate
did,
funds.
yeah.
Dan Triben and I also looked at this. It made sense for them because you can approximate in households how many people are there, and which is a pretty good correlation to how many vehicles. It doesn't work very well in ours for two reasons. One, as the mayor says, industry, and two, we have some apartment complexes where the individual apartments aren't built, Heritage being one of them. People have vehicle stickers, but they don't have
They've got
water
one
usage.
bill for
So
like
we have
24
so many
apartments.
exceptions that a system that does a fairly good correlation in some municipalities, for instance, Oak Lawn, just doesn't hold up for us. So it made sense for them. It probably doesn't make sense for us.
So
All the
to-
people in Oak Lawn are filling their swimming pool.
So to that point, I wanted to throw out the idea of possibly going to 2-year stickers. If a current car vehicle sticker is $35, the 2-year sticker would be $70. However, it's an every other year coming in, it's an every other year filling out a form, it's an every other year printing. Based on last year's costs for design and printing and mailing of the forms as well as the printing of the stickers itself, we would save approximately $13,000.
Your biggest savings is mailing.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Going back to what the mayor said, we really are trying to come up with different models. And the water model was the first one we looked at because, frankly, our neighbor to the north was using it. But there are other models, and I think doing a 2-year sticker right now probably is not the way to go because it limits your ability to eliminate a vehicle sticker and get that money elsewhere. The idea on the vehicle sticker is to put money into the road and bridge fund for the roads. And if there's another way to get there without vehicle sticker, you're going to be saving more than $13,000 every year. But we're in the process of doing that modeling, and I think if you move to a 2-year sticker right now, you've just pushed off the potential of switching another year.
Well, between that and then also, everyone who purchases their first 2-year sticker gets a gut punch of double.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
And moving out as well. If they move out of town 2 months in, you're unhappy with one if you just buy a 1-year sticker, but you buy a 2-year sticker.
respectfully, I'm feeling for the ladies in our office at the same time. One, we try to always do things, I'll just speak for myself. I like to look things marginally. I like to look at what's affordable, and I think if you get the guy that's late to impose even like additional money, this might get out of control. You'll have havoc at the window there, no problem. But
We have
but
havoc now.
but I agree with the clerk for at least this year. I think it would be helpful, not with the increase in costs. I would think it would be helpful just that we can dialogue this right now yet too, but how do we simplify the language to make this streamline up at the window? What do we want to see from the disabled person, and how can we recognize well, let's put it this way. We got to have records for what you just did last year of retired folks. If they were retired last year, they're still retired this year. When we send those notices out, can we put like a green sticker on there or something like that to know that guy pays only this?
My counter to that was if in personal experience, I retired last year, I was driving last year. I may still have a valid driver's license, but I may not be eligible, I may not be physically capable of driving this year.
Yeah, and that guy sends it in, and I'm not buying one because of this, that's all.
Or somebody else in the family who is of less age comes in with that form and gets a discounted sticker. And the whole language was put in here a number of years ago, prior to myself, prior to Erica, that was trying to eliminate the people that were taking advantage of
And I think that really was a problem.
for quite some
many?
time.
Actually, I think they kept running into that. I believe that language was put in here since I've been here in the last 5 years because it was a problem.
So part of the issue becomes is that the disabled people are going to have greater difficulty actually getting in here. And, we shouldn't make it more complicated for them.
We heard from a gentleman who came in here.
Right.
Missing a leg, but
We need direction from the board.
Is that something that
If-
could be an every other year thing? That once in a
How
while
much
you have
revenue
to-
do we see in total for vehicle registration every year? 250,000?
Yeah.
If they cheat us out of 10%, 25 grand. Really? And I don't think 10% are cheating.
Well, it would be good to know what percentage of the population actually gets the senior stickers and disabled stickers.
And
True, but
So that
why wouldn't we have that information?
Well, and I guess that's where I'm standing now, too, is if we know they were disabled last year, even if they gave up their right, that's on them, it's $5, but if they don't want to drive anymore. But if you were disabled last year, we can designate different icons or something like that.
Well, to Trustee McLaughlin's point last year was not just having the red and white card from Social Security, but there were some people that might have a temporary disability for a short amount of time.
But not everybody who is disabled has a card from the Social Security Administration.
Correct, and that's what you had said, that
Right,
it might
there's
just be
an actual disabled card from the Secretary of State's office that says, I am a disabled driver. So you don't have to have that. I mean, and there are legitimate reasons why people do not become disabled through the Social Security
I
Administration.
understand.
Yeah. Or disability through their doctor. And it's going to carry for 6 months, 8 months, 2 years.
So do we have a list, Sue, right now that says who got senior stickers? Do we have a list of that right now?
I don't, there would probably be a report that would need to be generated, and I don't know if the software supports that.
If you can get us a report on who got senior exempt discounted stickers, and another one that said who got disability stickers, I think that's the two we're looking at here.
We don't even
Just
necessarily need to know
streamline
who, just how many.
Exactly, right.
Excuse me,
Go ahead, Beck.
You also have the issue of people dying. And
Exactly.
their relatives use their driver's license to say, oh, they couldn't come in here, and they're getting the cheap sticker to put on their car. And that's a huge thing, especially when you have all those seniors. And they're no longer here.
And
Without their relatives using their information.
And Trustee Dalzell, to your point, when you mentioned about is it 10% that we're losing, last year I had brought before the board the idea of giving the veterans a free sticker or a discounted sticker similar to that of the handicapped and the disabled, and the board decided that that was going to cost the Road and Bridge Fund too much money, which was about $13,000 or $14,000. So there's a trade-off here. I see both sides of it.
But even that was a supposed, because
We didn't have a
we
count.
didn't know a
And-
true number of people.
Well, and I
so we can sit
researched
there-
and got the most possible that we could based on age of veterans that were in town, and of the age group, so many would have qualified for the senior, and out of the remainder of, that's the dollar amount that I had come up with at the most. It was that type of money, knowing that some people weren't driving and wouldn't have been a fixed,
And a lot of
taking.
that, though, is again, because when we do the budgets, Road and Bridge has almost always been subsidized by the general fund. So every time we take away from the vehicle sticker revenue, that's more monies that come out of the corporate fund, general fund, to subsidize a separate and distinct fund.
I understand.
Why can't we just make it, if the car is registered to an elderly person or it's a disabled person, that that person needs to be here with their...
That's what we did, but the problem is that I know myself, I had a neighbor who suffered a heart attack, and he was in the hospital, he couldn't get here. So while he's in the
We give a
hospital,
lengthy
he sends
amount
a
of
neighbor
time.
to go and purchase it, and the village wouldn't sell them the vehicle sticker
Right.
because they had to see that person.
Right.
What do you do?
Well, we give them a lengthy amount of time to come in. I mean,
But
how
we
long?
don't
By
usually
ordinance,
give them till
you
July
could not.
1st.
How long?
By
How long
ordinance.
do we give
So
them?
now that car
Till
sits out
July
there,
15th, so
and
it
the police
takes them
department
2
writes a
We
citation.
gave them,
Vehicle stickers are due by July 1st, and we give them until after,
there
till
was
July
a grace
15th.
period last year, was there not, Mayor?
But it's only
Grace
till July
period.
15th.
Yeah.
Before
2
they
weeks.
started issuing citations, a grace period before the fines went up. But the grace
Okay,
period
but
is
for
based
that
upon what the police
exception,
chief says.
for that exception, can't we use the proof of them being hospitalized and use that as the exception?
I mean, what we're trying to do is we're trying to facilitate the efficiency and the effectiveness of the clerk's office. And as we all well know from history, is that a lot of people will send in dutifully that form that's prepared for them, with a check in the right amount, and life is good. And then there's a lot of people who will sit there and wait for the last day because it's an expense, and I put off that expense until the last possible day, and then I'll stand in the line that's
You didn't have
100
to
people
out me
deep.
like that either, man. You know, I didn't mean to wait till the last day, but I got in there, that kind of thing, so.
And then I'm standing behind the mayor who's waiting for the last day. So, and we see that time and time again. And I certainly feel for the clerk's office, having witnessed that for many a year. It was years ago that we went to mailing the renewal notices, because people used to have to come here. It's a more mobile society. It's a more computer society.
And we have added online.
Yeah, and so we've got a lot of different things in there to assist in that endeavor. And we're still going to go, a lot of people who are going to be old school, come here, see how the village is run, how does it look, take a look at the nice orange tiles that Roger's got out there, and
And the bad parking lot.
the bad parking lot.
Oh, I got that under
all the way in.
communication, you know? I'm good.
So, I mean, it's half and half. But as I've said a year before and a year before that, aside from the parking lot, is that if a senior citizen today purchases a vehicle sticker, that senior citizen will be a senior citizen next year, God willing, to be able to purchase the vehicle sticker. You shouldn't have to come in every year, number one, to show that you're alive, and number two, to prove that you're the age that you are, plus one. It's just,
I mean, it's like
we watch
literally
this
maybe
poor disabled
15, 30
veteran come
minutes
in
of this
here.
person's life.
Pardon me?
It's like 15, 30 minutes, 15 minutes of this person's life. I'm sure they have to come in here for something.
How many vehicle stickers do we sell, sir, every year?
Thousands. and
Thousands. So that's what you want? Thousands of people coming in here.
Well, no, I mean, like, other people do it online through mail. I'm talking about elderly and disabled that have to prove that they are.
I'm saying these are the people that we shouldn't be making jump it through hoops.
Well, unfortunately, these are the people that send their family members, and other family members take advantage of that.
Well,
Not always.
I'm just trying to
It's not
streamline
categorized.
this whole process,
Right.
that's all.
So again, I mean,
In-
the way the ordinance is written currently, they need to come in. So you need some direction. The clerk's office needs some direction on what to do with the ordinance, and then what do we do discretion-wise if somebody comes in and is very adamant?
Well, like I said, let's see where we stand with, if we can extract a list, that's where we need to know. How many people are we talking about here and stuff? Then,
Senior
so-
stickers and disabled
Right.
stickers.
And again, just to be clear too, my idea of eliminating vehicle stickers wasn't just to simplify this conversation. It was basically, I want to eliminate scofflaws. I want to, the police have better things to do with their time than look for folks that have outdated stickers on their window and stuff. If we find a formula that works, which is why Oak Lawn and why many other communities have adopted the same, everyone's got a buy-in. Everyone's covering that road and bridge tax and stuff then too, and we can just simplify life around here and stuff.
To the contrary,
So,
there have been instances, I know from personal experience, that when somebody abandons their vehicle and takes the license plate off there or the VIN, that you have that vehicle sticker sitting there, and then you can go to your records and
final
find out
source.
who had that.
Right. I get it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Back in my day, Jake, back in my day.
So,
If there's any discussion going on about how to eliminate, I would appreciate being looped into those discussions.
yeah, we don't have anything yet. We're working on templates.
We just have to make sure that there's a way to financially model it.
Right.
It's truly a hypothetical. before that.
I understand, but
So,
outside of the mayor and I having the previous conversation regarding Oak Lawn and myself also talking with Jane Quinlan about that, this is the first that I'm hearing that anything
Yeah.
else was being investigated.
well, because we're not ready to pull the trigger on that yet. There's just no time this season to do it, but more importantly is we want to make sure it's equitable for everybody and stuff then too, so. Anything else, Clerk?
I would just like to push one more time for 2-year stickers, just to eliminate something. Give the board, give the village more time to research and come up with something that's a little bit more equitable, because you're still, it's only going to be 12 months down the road before it happens again. So that concludes my report, Mayor Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, public forum. Anyone in the audience wish to address the board tonight? Nobody?
Anyone want to talk about the parking lot out there?
I don't want to skip ahead. I got that under communications at the end and stuff, so,
They couldn't come in.
yeah. Next is the standing committee reports. Finance Committee, Trustee McLaughlin.
Excuse me. First thing I want to say is that the budget process has begun, and I've been assured that the parking lot will be included in the budget this year.
Sure.
Nice. Nice.
And then finally, for next week, I'll have a list of payroll and accounts payable for approval. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I'd like to say that the last few budgets I've been involved in, it's been there, it's just always been kicked down the road.
No. This year, I'll skip ahead then. I was going to say is, we did put in, no, last week after we had some direction from the board, Shanae Hunter did apply for our safety grant, and based on the slip-resistant flooring, and as Chief Miller said, his end of that grant money would probably consume half of that money, and then what I asked Roger to do was to prioritize the balance of those monies to see where we can go with redoing the vestibules in both the front entrance and the police entrance, and
As well as outside of the doors as well.
yeah, the whole thing, because even the thresholds are kind of eaten up from salt and whatnot, but to replace all that, and then there's a small piece by the back door here on the east entrance too, but personally right now, I think the parking lot's more important to get done, and I wanted to just share that with the board. I think the parking lot's more important than redoing the hallways at this time. I think the hallways will suffice a little bit further, but I really want to take care of what Chief Miller identified as an issue in the police department, as well as how much the vestibules are getting tore up by the weather and stuff then too. So we're going to focus on those, and Roger's working on getting quotes for those yet too, so we'll present those to the board when it happens.
I'll put an RFP together.
Yeah.
I say, Jay, can't you just go bust some drug lord somewhere and
Nothing's illegal in Cook County anymore.
Yeah, because the parking lot is not IPRF applicable. It just doesn't
No,
fit, so.
but if he could get some drug funds, then maybe he could take care of the
We,
police department.
no, Jay's got, he's doing the right thing with that and stuff, so we're fine. But anyway, just to address the lot, as Ken said, we do keep that, we're going to have that in our budget, and I don't plan on kicking that out. That's something we need to address. We've done everything we can to Band-Aid that thing. Fire report, Trustee Murphy?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, police and traffic safety, Trustee Dalzell.
There will be the presentation of the Police Department December 2019 monthly activity report. Nothing further, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Public Work and Boat Launch, Trustee Juarez.
I have a presentation of the Public Works December 2019 monthly activity report. That's all, Mayor.
Trustee, I did excuse Mike Frater from tonight's meeting. He was sick. He went home early today and stuff, too. So, Sewer and Water, Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. Presentation of the Sewer and Water Department December 2019 monthly activity report. That's all, Mayor.
I did sign a bill this afternoon Danny gave me for the design engineering for the water main I've been concerned with on 125th and Pulaski. And Dan, you have a meeting tomorrow, right?
Correct.
On that? Okay.
So, yeah, we'll have more information as to approximate cost tomorrow morning.
Okay. If you would, please, can you loop in the trustee on that, too? Okay, and to our committee. Thank you. Next, Building and Health, Trustee Zelinski.
I have a presentation of the Building Department December 2019 monthly activity report, and that's all I have today.
Roger was busy today, too. I don't want to use any names for these particular businesses, but we did have to close one today, and we're addressing that right away. We had open wires to electrical boxes and stuff like that yet, too. So I appreciate you, jumping on that and giving me a call, let me know and stuff then, too. So were they receptive? Did you meet with the contractor?
We have not scheduled a time, but he was looking probably Wednesday or Friday of this week
To resolve that?
with his team and us.
All right, cool. Let me know, Roger, whenever that's good. All right. And then next, Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
No report, Mayor.
All right. Next, we have the Special Committee Reports, Economic Development, Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a request that we touch base before the meeting, and I'll just read verbatim the note that you left for me.
Oh, yeah. Right.
About the RFP. The village requested an RFP for the property located at 11638 through 58 South Pulaski at the January 6, 2020 Village Board meeting, where no RFPs were received. Since then, there has been an interested party that wants to submit, so we'll need to repost and ask for RFPs to be submitted by January 27, 2020, no later than 5 p.m. I ask that your committee reconsider the request for an RFP for said property at 11638-58 South Pulaski, and number 1, post the request for RFP on the village website, where all submittals are due to the village clerk's office no later than 5 p.m. on Monday, January 27, 2020. Item 2, ask the village clerk's office to repost the same request they made previously in the Southwest Messenger newspaper with a submittal date of January 27, 2020 by 5 p.m. I'm not sure if there's anything else that you wanted to add.
All I was going to say was we do have an interested party for that site. That was the former Christmas tree lot, and it's the same. Basically, it's the same parties we've been speaking of. They missed the deadline last week to submit the RFP, but to be fair to anybody else that might have wanted to submit for it, we do have to repost. So I'm going to ask that we repost that, we advertise for the 27th.
Doesn't the advertisement in the newspaper have to have a date that's like 2 weeks out?
That's why we said the 27th. It's a couple weeks, end of the month.
But if we
2 weeks
advertise Thursday, which is the 15th, the 27th is not 2 weeks.
Whatever it turns out to be, you can pick that. Pick it for for it to come in to meet compliance.
The information is going to be submitted to Erica and myself then tomorrow.
Yeah. So 15 days from its posted date.
Let's see the calendar.
Right? That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
What was the purpose of the RFP, Mayor?
Basically, we have to, when people are interested, when you have parties interested in purchasing property from the village, it has to be a fair process and stuff. Even though we have an interested party, we have to keep it fair to anybody else that might be interested in the same thing.
So what was the reason why they missed the deadline?
Out of state, they weren't available to submit.
So it's an RFP to acquire the property from the village.
It's an RFP to purchase the property from the village, right?
Why would we do that by RFP? Why wouldn't we just...
I think
I thought that we have a real estate agent that's our agent. for the
Not
purpose-
on that property. We only engage with him on the Reza
Car wash
property,
lot.
not on that property.
And even on that one, I believe that the attorney is having us do that. I believe on the
Yeah,
we also
Joe
went the
Kankar
same way.
recommended that we repost.
The other thing is, in terms of the newspaper, I know they really like to have it on Monday. They can get it done by Tuesday morning through the clerk's office, so it has to be done before noon. They'd get it in the paper on the 16th. Your next, adding 15 days, your next meeting of any sort would be on February 3rd, which would be a board meeting.
That's fine.
Just for clarification, I understand Trustee Dalzell just asked the question, why an RFP? If we're selling a property, isn't there just a price, and if somebody wants it, they can come purchase it?
Yeah, that's more for the attorney. I don't know how the process is. I think the idea is, though, is if you're putting it out in the newspaper, it's the best use. You may think you have a good use, you may think you have something out there, but this allows more solicitations for ideas. I don't think you have to go within the best price or the best. I think it gives the board more options out there. Whether that's a requirement or not, you get to learn more of what's going on before you make a decision.
Sure. It's
But
qualifying the project.
This was also part of an RDA, if I remember correctly?
There is no RDA yet, no.
There's not yet.
Yeah,
There was in previous owners had an RDA on that property that's no longer
That expired.
in effect. And so this is now going out for trying to get a new use for the property, or if they want to come back, the same one, but not under that old RDA.
What they do, trustees, is they submit an RFP on how they think, and I appreciate your explanation, it was better than mine, but, what's the best use for this particular property and at a sale price, and we qualify that as well as the clerk just pointed out too. The previous redevelopment agreement we had with the same party, had expired. And this project's actually larger than what they originally proposed a couple years ago yet, too, so. So, yeah, what we can do is, I can handle that first thing in the morning. I'll submit that to the clerk's office, but as Ken said, date-wise, it's probably going to be February 3rd instead of the 27th, that's all. Thanks. Trustee, anything else?
Just other updates. I've been in contact with two potential businesses. One is a gentleman that has a business in Chicago, fitness, like boutique, boot camp style, who's interested in either expanding or relocating to Alsip. So thank you, Roger, for connecting and touching base with the gentleman and providing with some commercial properties. Also, a daycare center is interested in locating in Alsip as well. They have a couple of businesses open around the south suburbs and are looking at Alsip as a potential site as well. So we're hoping that they come and we can find them a property.
You know what, after I spoke to you earlier about that, too, the property I had in mind would not be conducive because, again, childcare, you still need a backyard for some of the kids and stuff, and the spot I had was too commercialized. It wouldn't work and stuff then, too, so.
Yeah,
We'll keep the eye out, though, because I like that company, and I think that'd be a good one to bring to the neighborhood.
Yeah, he's looking for about 20,000 square feet.
Yeah, the place I had in mind wasn't quite that big, but it didn't have any soft use either. So, I mean, you got to have something like that available, too, so.
And then there's the third item, it's about the census 2020. The mayor and I just drafted an invite to some key leaders in different sectors here in town, such as community services, education, business, community, and so forth. So just be on the lookout for an invitation to join the Alsip Complete Count Committee for the census. And you might get a phone call from me as well, just in case it got lost in the mail. So we look forward to kicking off this effort. And if anyone has any questions about the census, feel free to reach out to the village.
We actually reached out to about 30 different entities that will include parks, schools, churches, all denominations and so forth then too. So we just did that actually today. Those went in the mail today. So we'll see what kind of reply we get back. And what was the tentative date on that though too?
I believe we targeted
like
the 24th.
Right? Yeah. Okay. 24th of January. We sent all of our political affiliates too, like our state reps and our senators too. So we'll see if we get any response from them as well.
Yep. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thanks. Village Properties, Trustee McLaurin.
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Ordinance and legislation, Trustee Zelinski.
Yeah, I have one ordinance resolution that's actually going to be on the agenda for the board meeting next week. It's a resolution of the Village of Alsip adopting an anti-harassment policy for elected officials. I'm not going to read the entire ordinance, but just to give you an oversight here, or an overview, I should say. Anti-harassment policy for elected officials. This is going to be a sexual harassment by an elected official of the Village of Alsip against another elected official is strictly prohibited. Elected officials of the village are entitled, like employees of the village, to conduct village business in an environment that is free from sexual harassment. This policy provides procedures for reporting and investigation of allegations of sexual harassment made against an elected official of the Village of Alsip by another elected official of the village. And the rest of it will be in that resolution.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, we just got that the other day, Friday or something like that. Yeah. So from our attorney Beth Addard. So I thought we'd place that on the agenda next week then too.
Sounds good.
All right. IT, Trustee Dalzell.
No report, Mayor.
And I'll certainly, I appreciate the efforts like Trustee, Clerk Petzel said that, Brian's doing a great job. Brian Massari. Next, Planning and Zoning and Licenses, Trustee Juarez.
Did we skip technology?
No, we did.
No, we didn't. I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated January 2nd through January 13th, 2020. That's all, Mayor.
All right. Trustees, any presentations, petitions, or communications you wish to share?
Just a reminder that the next meeting, the board meeting, will be next week, Tuesday, instead of Monday, in recognition of Martin Luther King Day on Monday, the 20th. So the board meeting is on Tuesday, the 21st.
All right. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Okay, get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll adjourn this meeting at 8:45. Everyone enjoy your evening. And again, this is the first committee meeting of 2020.